Russia is now saying it has opened an investigation into claims of alleged mass graves of civilians supposedly killed by Ukrainian forces. But according to our reporters there on the ground, these claims are almost certainly false and appear to be a part of a broader false narrative to justify an invasion. Foreign correspondent James Longman joining me now from Moscow with more. So what can you tell us about these new claims, James? And is this the false flag that U.S. intelligence warned Russia might try to use as an excuse to invade Ukraine?
Well, Kira, that's certainly what everyone is saying. It's very difficult to know, of course, and that's what Russia is banking on. This all goes back to last week when one of the leaders of one of these separatist groups in eastern Ukraine went on state television here, held a press conference and said that they had discovered mass graves, 130 mass graves, including women. These are Russian speakers who'd been killed by Ukrainian forces there, and he was appealing to Moscow to start an investigation. And this is all part of a narrative, actually, it's not new. I mean, this is something that's been going on for a long time. It's the main reason why Russia keeps going on about these parts of eastern Ukraine, because they always talk about a genocide, quote unquote, that's going on against Russian speakers there. We heard Vladimir Putin himself using that word just the other day in a press conference. What I would say, though, is it's difficult to believe because these are in areas which have been in Russian-backed rebel control for the last 7 years. So it would seem strange that they have only just discovered them. Nevertheless, there is an investigation being opened into possible war crimes. This Russian investigative committee investigates serious crimes in the country. So it's just part of this pattern we've been hearing over the last few days and weeks and months and years that these groups in Ukraine are responsible for genocide. It doesn't mean that Russia is about to invade, but it just kind of lays the groundwork, possibly, as you say, for one of these false flag pieces of news which flashes up before us and warns the Russian people that their people are being killed in Ukraine and that Russia must act. But as ever with this conflict, it's just so hard to know the truth. Kira?
That is well said indeed. Meanwhile, what we do know that NATO is deploying more forces in Eastern Europe, James, as the Secretary General says there are no signs of de-escalation right now, but it's not too late to step back from the brink. How's Russia responding?
Well, yeah, this is Jens Stoltenberg speaking today at the NATO defence minister meeting. What he did say, actually, was that it was really important for NATO to strengthen their eastern flank. This is precisely the opposite of what Vladimir Putin wanted. So if we're talking about whether or not Russia has won anything yet, this is probably not what he wanted. He wants a weakened NATO, he wants a divided NATO, but it seems to have got the opposite from these quote-unquote military exercises down on Ukraine's border. We have had, though, as you say, a response from Russia. This is the sort of typical tone that the spokeswoman for the foreign ministry often takes. She likes a zinger. Her name is Maria Zakharova, and she said, frankly, I can tell you the truth. We're not interested in these statements made by Stoltenberg, who's either NATO Secretary General or a banker. I haven't figured out which yet. We're no longer interested in them. She'd said that because he's also been appointed the next chairman of Norway's central bank. Of course, this is not a laughing matter for the people of Ukraine, but she likes to take this tone. This is just part of Russia's strategy. Debunk, discredit, joke, laugh at. We've seen it not just from her, but from Lavrov and from other members of the Russian government. It's just more of the same. Kira?
Yeah. More zinger after another. President Biden, meanwhile, James, yesterday spoke directly to the people of Russia. We all watched the speech, stressing that the U.S. is not their enemy and saying that he doesn't believe they want war. What sense do you get from the people there in Moscow about their feelings on a potentially long and bloody invasion there?
I think, Kira, it depends which Russians you ask. I think, like any country, there are very different views around the government here and the kind of leadership of Vladimir Putin. You have to remember, though, how this is all being packaged for the Russian people, what the messaging is. The message is not that the great Russian superpower is sitting on the border of a small country about to attack and kill everyone, which I think is possibly what the rest of the world has possibly gleaned from what's happening here. In Russia, the message is, we have to defend Russian speakers in Ukraine. They are at risk of genocide. It's Russia surrounded by enemies, Russia surrounded by countries that keep signing up to NATO. They're putting their guns and missiles and weapons right on our border, and we must defend ourselves. In that context, one would imagine that more Russians would be pro some kind of defensive military action by the Russian government. not necessarily an offensive military action which costs the lives of their young men and women. So I think you've got to remember how Russians are being told about this conflict, and then you'll see perhaps that people possibly, if not for it, might be kind of neutral about it.
James Longman in Moscow for us once again. James, thanks.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.